This is vegan style.
What's up, plant-loving friends? It is Saturday. It's a beautiful day, and I want to talk about getting into vegan-related interactions with people, whether that be your friends, your family, or literally just a person on the street. Because if you are a uncloseted and out, a proud vegan, and you wear vegan t-shirts and buttons and read vegan books in public, like I do, people are gonna talk to you about it. Trust me. The real issue is when people approach you or you strike up a conversation with someone who is either threatened by your lifestyle, doesn't understand veganism, doesn't understand why it's good for your health, good for the planet, good for the environment, compassionate to animals, or someone who's a hardcore meat eater, someone who actually has done some research and believes in meat eating for, you know, whatever reason that they've read what they've read, and there's information on everything out there, whatever opinion and perspective you have, and you need to be prepared with a list, however long you'd like, of different responses that you can talk to people about that promote the vegan message. The way it works with most people around veganism and diets is they either care about health and nutrition, or they care about the environment, or they care about ethics and compassion, and taste. Those are pretty much the four things. So you can run into someone that, you know, is an omnivore and is not against veganism but is asking you about it. Let's say all they care about is health. They don't care about the environment, they don't care about animal ethics. Starting to tell them that there are 60 billion animals in the world that get enslaved and tortured and murdered every year for human consumption, surprisingly won't do anything for them. They are here to talk to you about health, and hearing about all this sad stuff is not going to really strike their interest. So you need to cater your conversation to the person you're talking to. So when someone says to me, oh, you know, I'm researching what the healthiest diet is, I've heard about veganism, I've never tried it, you know, what do you have to say about it? So I'll say, oh, that's really great that you're doing this research and trying to improve your lifestyle. And I'm really glad that you started talking to me, because in my research and what I've learned, coming from an omnivorous diet and now being a vegan, is that a plant-based vegan lifestyle is the absolute healthiest diet for the human body specifically. It's actually what we've evolved to eat. A lot of the chronic diseases in our world, such as cancer, heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, even Alzheimer's and brain disease, have been proven to all be nutritional related disease that never need exist if you nourish your body properly. Isn't that amazing? And they say, yeah, those are pretty profound statements. Are you sure about that? Did you read that online? And then I always throw out, no, actually, I'm certified in plant-based nutrition from the T. Colin Campbell Foundation, and I've spent the last 2 years really researching this almost full time. It turns out that I can show you many peer-reviewed journals and studies that have actually taken human participants and have reversed or prevented chronic diseases such as the ones I mentioned before purely through diet without any drugs. Actually, Caldwell Esselstyn, the cardiologist at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, has cured and reversed high stages of heart disease from patients purely through taking them off their medications and changing their diet to a whole food plant-based vegan diet, which means rice, beans, tons of raw fruits and vegetables, and little nuts and seeds, oil-free. Additionally, Colin Campbell, the professor of emeritus nutrition at Cornell University, proved in the 70s that with a study of rats, he could actually reverse breast cancer purely through changing the rats' diets. This can be found in the book, The China Study, where he discovered that the most potent carcinogen, the material that can increase your rate of cancer higher than any other toxin, is actually casein, which is the protein in milk. Whether that be low-fat milk, high-fat milk, raw milk, it's all the same. So then they say, all right, you know, that's pretty cool. I'm going to do some more research. Thank you. So let's say someone comes up to you and they say, I don't care about my health. I'm trying to be the most sustainable, environmentally friendly person possible. I sold my car, I only bike, I changed all my light bulbs, I turn off the lights when I leave the room. You know, what can veganism do for this? And that's where the conversation is just the easiest. Because it is without a doubt proven that the single most impactful thing a single human being can do to reduce their carbon footprint is become vegan and stop eating animal products, including meat, fish, cheese, dairy, eggs, milk, all of it. Because over 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the United States are linked back to livestock production. Also, methane has a much shorter half-life than carbon. What this means is if we reduced all the carbon emissions in the United States to zero, it would take 50 to 100 years to feel any beneficial impacts of that carbon being reduced because it stays in the atmosphere. What is extremely different is methane, which has a half-life of almost zero, meaning that if you reduce the methane emissions, which is another greenhouse gas, from the atmosphere, we would essentially immediately feel the impact of methane greenhouse gas emissions being reduced. And one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas other than carbon in our country is methane, which gets produced in livestock farts. So by voting with your fork and your dollar and choosing to eat plant-based foods, you are saying that you no longer want the production of animal products to continue, thus trying to defeat the most impactful environmental industry in our country and world, which is livestock agriculture. Also talk about the rainforest. 1 acre, that's about 1 football field size acre per second, is deforested around the globe due to grazing livestock on that land. Because when a farmer wants to raise cattle, they can't raise that cattle in the middle of a jungle with trees and vines and tons of plants growing. They need to clear it out and either grow grass or just provide a space and then bring grain to the cattle, and that involves deforesting massive plots of land in Brazil and the Amazon, all over the world. So by becoming vegan, you no longer contribute to the deforestation of the rainforest. And lastly, you can talk about water. Every vegan and every person should know this fact. It takes 660, that is 660 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. To grow the same amount of calories of sweet potatoes, for instance, it takes 50 gallons of water. So that is a massive, massive, massive difference. And in John Robbins' famous book, Food Revolution, he came up with a really fun statistic that a vegan who drives a Hummer car has less of an environmental impact than an omnivore, a meat and dairy eater, who drives a Prius. So we really should stop worrying about our cars, stop worrying about our light bulbs. We should become vegan if we truly want to be sustainable citizens and try to resolve this climate crisis. And then if someone says, hey, I want to try veganism, I'm really into ethics and morality, what could possibly be easier? All you have to say is that the definition of a Holocaust is not the confinement, torture, and murder of human beings. It is simply that of sentient beings that can feel pain and that have any form of intelligence, which includes animals. Animals have a nervous system just like human beings, so they feel pain in the exact same way. Pigs, in fact, have a higher IQ than dogs, meaning that they can form relationships, think, and understand things even better than our pet companions. And we know we would never want to torture, abuse, beat, enslave, and murder and eat our dogs and cats. We murder 60 billion animals a year for human consumption, and in this country alone, that number is 10 billion. So by going vegan, you are not contributing to the enslavement, torture, and murder of beings that can feel pain and form relationships similar to our dogs and cats. The problem I run into most often when talking to people is that I get very excited about this topic. It's my passion, it's what I do, it just means everything to me. So I usually throw out too much intense information than someone can handle or even wants to hear at that time. Now there is a tricky line between telling someone the truth and hurting someone's feelings, because ultimately you should never feel bad about educating people, trying to make their lives and the world a better place. But when it comes to food and diet, it can get really sensitive for some people. I remember talking to one friend at school that at the end of like my 5-minute conversation with them about how animal products are essentially the building blocks for chronic disease, they said, wait a second, does that mean my mom's chicken noodle soup isn't making me better when I'm sick? And I thought, holy crap, that's such a good example. So often the comfort foods that we eat when we're sick, that are supposed to make us better, actually make us much worse and promote more illness and our immune system eroding, even though they make us feel good right when we eat them because they're comforting. When you mix fat, sugar, and salt together, it is like an orgasm in your mouth. The perfect example, bacon with maple syrup. You're eating pancakes with bacon. That is the exact example of fat, sugar, and salt that will just make your taste buds so happy, but truly destroy your health, erode your immune system, and not allow you to have antibodies that fight off illnesses from the common cold all the way to cancer and heart disease. So you need to know, does this person really want to get into this? Are they really looking for some information? Or are they just looking for the 2-minute conversation to plant a seed? Sometimes planting a seed and not forcing the plant to grow is more effective than trying to get that plant to grow 3 feet in 5 minutes, because they're gonna get threatened, they're gonna get angry at you, and then they're gonna associate veganism with some religious cult, which it is not whatsoever. So my recommendation is to go to John McDougall's website and also T. Colin Campbell's website. And just from those 2 websites alone, you will be able to find little tidbits, little sound bites and statistics that will be enough. If you just have them in your back pocket, you can literally write them down and look at them so you memorize them. So just keep them in your brain so that if someone comes to talk to you, you don't sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Because oftentimes we read all these books, we watch all these videos, and the information, if we really don't sit down and try to memorize it, it can wash over our head. So we can be convinced and we can know that a plant-based diet is the greatest thing you can do for your own health, for the environment, and for ethics. But we sometimes forget the details that some people want to hear in order to be swayed. Provide them with fun material to educate themselves. If you hand someone the China Study, which is like a 400-page book with no real pictures about how terrible animal products are for you, they're gonna be like, get this out of my face. I do not want to hear this right now. I'm not gonna take, a month to read this book. Forget it. If you say, hey, check out this YouTube channel of this really sexy Australian lady named Freelee the Banana Girl, who has this great YouTube channel. She has daily videos and she talks about the impacts of veganism. They're gonna be like, that would be awesome. I can watch a 10-minute YouTube video a day. Give them a list of documentaries: Forks Over Knives, Food Matters, Vegucated, Food Inc., Earthlings. So know who you're talking to. Don't give them too much information if they're not ready to hear it. Evaluate if they care about health and nutrition, the environment, ethics, or cuisine, and cater your conversation to whatever will be most impactful to them. And have your handful of sound bites and statistics, so that if somebody wants some cold, hard, concrete, detailed explanations of how profound the vegan diet is, you can provide that for them and not sound like someone who just watched a YouTube video and was convinced and brainwashed. Also, have your handful of favorite vegan recipe websites. I love the Rawtarian, John McDougall's website, Chef AJ, Rich Roll has some good cooking videos.
This is Vegan Style. This is Vegan Style. This is Vegan Starch.